All right. All right. Beautiful. All you, Mr. Dante. Thank you, sir.
All right. I assume audio is all good
yeah,
here.
We're good.
All right, cool. All right, guys. So appreciate you guys letting me be here today. I know I recognize a lot of faces. Some of you guys I don't recognize. So I'll meet you guys over a period of time here. I'm going to get straight to it, guys. I got two things I'm going to talk to you guys about today. Number one is understanding the whys of having a big push. And number two, we're going to add another piece to your arsenal on what we call upselling, which is basically once the order is done, doesn't mean that it's done. It means that there's always stuff to add after someone has made a decision to purchase something. So I got a little bit of mental stuff for you, and I got a little bit more how to. So make sure you're super laser focused here for today, and then we're going to go and jump right into it. I thought it was pretty cool that that Kathy actually mentioned that about events. So I actually became the coordinator of Gulf Coast, joined this team literally July of last year. And in the last 12 months, the events program has sold 1.5 million bucks worth of Cutco just through events. So if you guys have ever been to a market days, a county fair, the Houston Rodeo, things like that, where there's an exhibitor set up, like a vendor, stuff like that. And we actually set up our Cutco booths there. They look super sexy, awesome for you guys that are at SC1. You guys probably saw my assistant set up a booth there, where I kind of have a basic idea of what we do. And then the funny thing is that most people heavily underestimate like how strong the events program is within the Cutco community. People like me, James worked on the team for many years as well. I'm sure you guys will hear from him at some point as well too. But the main thing is understanding that whenever you're working events, a lot of opportunities come from understanding why you have a big push and also doing the work to have a big push. You guys all have different motivation factors. Some of you guys want to be great assistant managers. Some of you guys maybe want to run a branch next summer. Some of you guys might get a chance to be a district. Some of you guys just want to sell Cutco while being a full-time college student, trying to figure out where that all comes into play and balance that out. How can I still make a great income while going to school and taking 15 credit hours? You know, I've been there. I was in college. I've been with Cutco 13 years, guys. Like I was a full-time student when I was selling Cutco. Like I get it. So how do you balance it all, right? The other things that could come into place is being on the events team. It's like, hey, how can I sell more? Well, the easy cheat code to sell more Cutco is working on the events team. I'm just going to lead with that. But with that being said, guys, here's a couple of things I want you guys to jot down. Understanding why we have a push. Number one, raising our expectations for ourselves. I want to let you guys know something. I was not a very strong sales rep when I first started. I didn't know Kathy very well back then because she was based in Florida at that time. But I was a brand new baby rep in Lone Star. I really wasn't the strongest. I was definitely like not good in the training class. Like I was not a very strong rep my first summer there. You know, I just wasn't very good at the job at first, but I also looking back on it now, I thought it was just skill related, but I realized it took me a lot longer. I was a late bloomer. I didn't really grasp the understanding of why it was important to have a good push, but also I didn't know really what it took to have a good push. It actually took me multiple tries to have my first $10,000 push. But once you have it the first time, guess what happens afterwards? Easy. It's like the first time we underestimate it. We're like, all right, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm just going to work an easy beat a little harder. And then sometimes you make it, sometimes you fall short and you're like, oh, dang, I sold 5,000 versus 10,000. Oh, I'm not good enough. But then when you go back and you actually look at your schedule and look at all the actions you put in place, you're like, man, now that I realize what I did and the results I got, and then I look at all the reps that did 10, 20, 30, 40, maybe even 50K for a push week, which for you guys being brand new in Cutco, you're like $50,000 in 2.5 weeks. I can't compute that. But the thing is when I was a new rep, like you guys, that was the same thing. And the funny thing is now is that Cutco reps are selling more than they ever have before. It's absolutely crazy, the numbers. At SC2, they're going to have 5 different divisions that are going to be there. And there's going to be numerous people. There's probably going to be at least 50 people that do over 10K for push, maybe more than that. There's going to be a lot of big numbers out there. So with all that being said, I want you guys to understand is like, even though there's going to be all these accolades and all these standings and all these sales out there, it's easy to get lost in the process of being really focused on number one, being focused on what you're trying to accomplish for yourself. Are you trying to sell a lot of Cutco during this push week to make a lot of money? Is it to hit all your promotions? Is it to be a better manager candidate in the future? Is it to be on the events team? Is it so you have enough money stashed away so where you literally don't have to sweat paying for school in the fall and spring? By the way, I'm married, guys. I met my wife by selling Cutco like over 10 years ago. And when she was in Cutco, what was that? Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, she's way out of my league, by the way. So if you're a good salesperson, you marry up, just letting the guys know. All right. So here's what I would tell you is that she didn't go the career path like I did. She was a full-time student at St. Edward's in Austin. She came from Mexico. Family had not a lot of money, right? Like she had to pay her own tuition and it's a very expensive university. She had scholarships, but doesn't cover everything. So her motivation for push weeks and selling in the summer was 100% based on making her tuition payment. She's like, how much money do I need to have to survive through the fall and the spring till I can work full time again next summer? She always worked part time, like in the fall and spring for like school and stuff like that. But she was summa cum laude, an A-level student, and she still worked with Cutco year round for 3 years. And so the thing is, she was able to rack up enough cash to where she was able to make her tuition payments throughout fall and spring. I would say that's a success. I would say that is an accomplishment. I would say that's good. And that's all she was looking for. And she hit her goal, which was great. And she's been out of Cutco for a long time now, but I'll always remember that of her. Here's something else to tell you guys is increasing our capacity of what we're capable of. Here's something that an example I always liked hearing when I was a younger rep is when people would always ask me, like, what is your capacity? Like, what is a big week? So if you think inwardly right now and you ask yourself, what do I consider a big sales week? Is it 2,000? Is it 5,000? Is it maybe 10,000? More than that, less than that, whatever. A sales week, most of you guys are going to have different answers. Why? Because you guys all have different expectations. Some of you guys might be killing it right now, and that's great. Some of you guys might be starting off slow. That's fine too. But the objective is, the great thing about a push week is regardless of your career sales, guess what everyone starts with starting on the 18th? Exactly. I start at 0. Like, we're going to be in the same push week. Like, I'll be in the standings and all that stuff too. I'll be at 0. Everyone in this room will be at 0. James will be at 0. Everyone will be at 0. And the cool thing about our business is that it's really going to give you a real opportunity to really expand your capacity of what you can and can't do. And I hate using the words can't because that's kind of like restrictive. The main thing is more of just expanding what you think you can do. A lot about having a good push week, yes, is having the schedule and making sure you're organized and you work hard. But a good part of that too is just the simple mental capacity that you genuinely believe that you can do it. Even though you're not 100% all in, you're like, I want to believe it. I want to do it. You know that whole saying, fake it till you make it? Like, you got to wake up every morning. And if you really are bought into having your first $10,000 push, you really got to believe that you can do it. All right. Even though deep down inside, you're like, oh, I've never done it before. I've never even come close to that number, whatever. Like, that's fine. But once you do it the first time, confidence goes through the roof, and it's going to be easier to do it again and again and again and again and again. But for most of you guys, this is your first opportunity, so make the most of it. Expanding our beliefs of how much we can sell. So it's kind of piggybacks on the last one here. Making sure to actually believe, like, expand your beliefs of what is actually possible. It makes no sense to me that, and again, I'm not saying this is you guys, these weren't first summer reps, but last year during SC2 push, did you guys know, I don't know if Kathy has shared this with you guys, but company-wide, there were 6 reps that sold 100 grand during SC2 push last year. By the way, not new reps. Those are reps that have been doing this for a long time. But what? That makes no sense to me.
I don't think we've had 6 reps during the Super Bowl to that time. I think maybe we've had about that many, like, nationwide that had sold 100K before.
Yeah.
Like, I think, and I don't even know if it was 6.
And
that's wild.
And what's crazy is, now granted, have these people been doing it for years? Absolutely. Are they full-time professionals? Absolutely. But still, just fathoming the idea of what is actually possible over a long period of time is pretty amazing. The great thing about our job is, like, my wife works in her job and her pay has always been good. And it's always just kind of been like this. The great thing about Cutco is our pay is like this. And then once you figure it out, it's like this. The beautiful thing is we get to determine how much we make. We can't control our results, but we can always control our actions. If you can do at least 40 demos during SC2 push and you just hit the company averages, like 60% closing ratio, $300-400 average order, that's a $10,000 push. Over the course of 2.5 weeks, that's only like 3 demos a day. Imagine if you had 5, 6, 7 demos a day, how much you would sell that. The skill will come, the experience will come. But for right now, all you got to be focused on as a new rep, it's just focused on the actions. So let me talk about opportunities. This is a really good thing that you guys should keep in mind for the next few weeks, is having bigger pushes opens up bigger opportunities. Your level of opportunity will never exceed your level of commitment. Here's what I mean by that. You can't have a commitment level that's here and expect an opportunity that's up here. Does that make sense? I don't know if you guys can see that here. Your commitment can't be here and expect your opportunity to be this high. Can we all agree on that? Absolutely. If your commitment level is here, that's going to be the highest your opportunity is going to be most of the time. If your commitment level is all the way up here, your opportunity is going to be sky high as well. If you give ultimate commitment, that means you're working hard, you're doing all the right things. And by the way, guys, whether you hit your goal or not, a lot of the right people are going to notice the effort you put in. I actually put a quote here that I really, really like is, Effort is the universal currency for respect. Have you guys ever like, I don't know if you guys been in sport. I was in wrestling in high school, and one of the big things that I always got credit for, like I was good later, but my freshman year, guys, believe it or not, I was 4'10", I weighed 80 pounds. I was a small fry, like in freshman year of high school. Like, thank God I didn't meet my wife in high school. I would have been a friend zone so fast. So, but here's what I tell you. But the funny thing is that always gave A+ effort, always showed up, did all the camps I could do. And then it is by the time I graduated, I was All-State and I was All-American team. And I was very excited about that. But the main thing is you have to remember is you have to take that same level of tenacity and that same level of effort and put that into the push week over the next few weeks. Now, again, all of you guys want different things, but a lot of people always respect effort. Guys, I've been in this business 13 years. Don't you think I've seen a lot of talented reps come through here? A lot. And well, I've seen a lot of talented reps that were way overconfident that thought they were like too cool for school, and they sold really well, but they did not last because no one wanted to work with them and they didn't work long term. Does that make sense? Anyone can be a flash in the pan. Anyone can be a one-trick pony. The idea is making sure is like, can you go in and put forth the effort and maximize your opportunity? Your results can't be fully controlled, but our actions can only be controlled by us. Whenever you're making phone calls, guys, and you're like in the morning and it's like day 10 of the push and like you just had a bad day, you had a good day and then you had 2 bad days in a row and like, all right, I got to get up, I got to make more calls, I got to get more demos, got to fill my schedule. There's going to be that moment for all of you guys where you're going to be, the phone's going to feel really heavy. Has anyone ever had that so far? The phone feels really heavy for some reason as well. It's all mental. Does the phone weigh that much more? No, of course not. But where is it all coming from? It's all in our head. So, you know, the easiest way that I found for me that helps me get past that is I have to remind myself constantly, even in year 13 selling Cutco, I have to remind myself of what my purpose is. What is my purpose selling Cutco? When I was 19, I'm 32 now, guys. I got a wife, I got a dog, I got a house. I'm a Mac customer now. That's weird to say to you guys. So here's what I would tell you though. When I was 19 years old, you know what my goals were? Make enough money to buy Taco Bell and hang out with my friends and maybe no show my 8 a.m. class. Like that's what my life was. All right. That's all I cared about. And when I was 19 years old, that's how I lived my life. I hung out with my friends. I went to school. I did that stuff. Well, went to school, quote unquote, sometimes. I wasn't a great student. But the funny thing is that over a period of time of doing this long enough, I eventually figured it out and my goals have changed. My goals have changed. Now it's provide for the wife, provide for the future family, do all these kinds of things. So even me, you think the phone ever gets heavy on me? Of course it does. People sometimes think like, oh, they sold so much Cutco, they've done all this stuff for so long, like it's just easy for them. Well, I would say yes and no to that. Are there good days? Absolutely. Are there bad days? Absolutely. I've had more no sales than everyone in this room combined, but it's not because I'm necessarily like that much better. It's just the fact that I've been just doing this for that much longer. Really, the only difference between me and you guys is just the fact I've been here for 13 years. You guys have been here for like 19 days. Makes sense? So here's some of the opportunities that come from this. If you have big pushes, guys, and you get those bigger opportunities, you're going to get more opportunities with management. You're going to be offered to be an assistant manager. You can get a chance to run a branch somewhere. By the way, I ran 2 branches years ago. Still one of the best opportunities in Cutco, bar none, hands down. You want to have something really thick and fat and awesome, like on your resume for the future, like be a branch manager. That will help out a ton as well. Other thing is hitting your promotions. It's also just making a fat paycheck. You know what the great thing is? If you have problems in your life, which we all do, if your problems can be solved by money, if you have money, do you really have that many problems? You realize a lot of problems can be wiped away if you have money to solve those problems. Not saying all your problems, but the ones that require money can be fixed real easy. And you know what the easiest way to sell Cutco is? I found, I learned this years ago from, there's a guy in our business named Curtis. He's one of the best people in our business. And Curtis told me many years ago, he's like, the flip the switch moment for him in his career was when he started selling Cutco because he wanted to, not because he had to pay the bills. Got a lot easier. He was the first couple years he was selling Cutco to pay the bills. And then once he eventually figured it out, he started selling Cutco because he wanted to, and his sales went through the roof. And by the way, I can attest to that too. It's a lot more fun and easier to sell Cutco when you don't have to worry about paying the bills. I'm not saying you have to be there right now. You guys are in college, like you guys are trying to get things going, right? But the main thing is you have to remember right now, it's just making the most of your opportunities. You get a fat paycheck, a lot of problems get solved, especially for you branch managers. I know there's a couple of branch managers in the room. You guys make straight 50. That is absolutely overpowered. That is crazy. That is ridiculous. You can have a $10,000 push and pocket 5,000 just like that. It's awesome. By the way, if you guys ever get a chance to taste 50%, 50% is like super, life is easy when you make 50%. It just is. You're like, oh, if I sell this much, divide by 2, that's what my commissions come to. That's awesome. That's great. Getting a chance to be on the events team. Look, guys, our minimum standard is 15,000. That just is what it is. If you get to $15,000, you can go to training after SC2 and you can be on the events program and start be part of the team and go to the meetings and be part of it and all that stuff. You're literally going to be cherry picked. Like you're going to be recruited from your offices. You're the best reps in your offices, and you're going to be recruited into being a top 5 D1 program. Guys, like I said a second or not that long ago, is since I took over last July, we've sold $1.5 million in event sales. I want you to have an opportunity for that too. There is still an ample amount of opportunity in the Houston area that's not being fulfilled with events. And it just strictly comes down to like whoever's on the events team sooner than later is going to be able to maximize their opportunity before other people. So work hard and get to that number so that way you can be there. Learning how to work through discomfort. This is the last thing before we get into upselling. One of the biggest things I felt like I've always learned from push weeks is this, guys. Learning how to work through discomfort. I know you guys have probably heard this a million times. I know people like dog poo poo on like millennial stuff or whatever. Here's the reality, guys, is that when I was 19 years old, I always felt like I worked hard, but I didn't really know what it meant to actually work hard until I got older, looking back on it now. Kind of one of those things where it's always like, man, if I could just take what I know and just put it in your brain, like, oh my gosh, that would have been so much better. That's kind of the moment we're having right now. I want you guys to maximize your opportunities. And I also want you guys to understand that there's going to be hard days. You guys are okay with me being open and honest, right? Like, don't beat around the bush. Don't just tell it how it is. Is everyone okay with that? Yes or yes?
Yes.
Okay. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. That's how it goes, right? By the way, that's not like a Cutco lesson. That is just a life lesson. Like my wife, she hasn't worked with Cutco in over 7 years. Do you think she has all like super awesome rainbow days? Absolutely not. She texts me every other day about her corporate job and how much she hates it, right? Now, I'm fortunate enough now where she will not be having to do that anymore, and she'll be able to work from home and stuff. So that's exciting. But the point is that no matter where you work, there are going to be good days and bad days. There's going to be people you like working with, people you don't like working with that much. But you know how the best way to like pave a future for yourself is learning how to work with difficult people and learning how to push through discomfort. Who here's been in sports? Who here's been, a lot of you guys, all right. Who here's been in like band or choir or anything like that? Okay. You guys cannot tell me the fact that you were excited every day to go to practice. Did you always want to go to band practice? Did you always want to go to choir practice? No. Did you always want to go to football practice? Did you always want to go to do your lifts? Did you always want to do your morning conditioning? Probably not, right? We had those spurts of motivation, but you know what? The best people, like the really good people end up doing are the people that do it when they don't feel like doing it. The best thing you can do, guys, is just showing up. That's the best thing. There's going to be a day that comes, like I said, on like day 10, 11, 12 of push where alliance meeting started, your alarm goes off and you're like, God, I went for like 1 for 4 yesterday and I sold like $200. Oh, my pillow just feels so much more comfortable than my phone right now. I'm going to challenge you guys very, very strongly to please remember this moment to where that day when your pillow feels really soft and comfortable and you want to snuggle up with it and everything, I promise you a good opportunity is way more comfortable than snuggling up with your pillow an extra hour. Do not make the mistake that most reps make during push week. Okay. You guys ready to learn how to sell some stuff now?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go ahead and get into it. So I'm going to teach you guys on something called upselling. So when it comes to upselling, this is actually one of my best skills working on the events team. So this is something you guys will learn a little bit more in detail later, but for right now, I'm going to teach you guys the basics. How cool would it be to actually go through and do your demos and about every other order, you could add at least $100 to it? Would you be cool with learning that? Has anyone here been taught upselling a little bit at all? Of course, some of the branches work on events team. Yep. So here's what I would tell you is when it comes to upselling, use the best practices of those who sell at a high level. Something you guys want to remember about upselling, it's a formula. Follow it and the results will come. It's also a numbers game. The more appointments you do, the more orders you get, the more times you offer upselling, you'd be surprised on some of the CPO that comes from it. So I'm going to give you guys some how-tos real quick. Step number 1 is follow the basics. Here are the basic rules of upselling. First one is don't offer until the order is closed. Here's what I mean by that. When you do your demo, nothing in your demo changes until after the order is closed. So let's say you're doing an appointment or a demo for someone. You go through, you drop down, you do all this stuff. And let's say that they settle on a galley +6, they get a free pair of shears with it. You know, you're excited, got an order in the bag, high five, fist bump, all that good stuff is sealed away. And what you've learned from your initial training seminar is once you get that order closed, you process it on the app and then you're done. You get recommendations, you go on to your next demo. All sound familiar so far? So here's a little tidbit that you're now going to add to this. After the order is done and they made the decision, I want to buy this, once you get all the billing information, once you get all the payment information, all that stuff, you don't finalize the order on the app until you always offer to add something on. Now, here's what I would tell you guys. Let's say someone is buying a galley set. Now, they're excited about it, fits their budget, all that good stuff. That's what they ended up settling on. Something you guys don't want to make sure to remember is the hardest yes is the first one. I don't know if you guys know that. I know a lot of you guys are younger, but has anyone here bought a car yet in their life, like without their parents and stuff? Okay, you have? Okay, so whenever someone's buying a car, how's the process normally go? They go to the lot, they look at different vehicles, they test drive maybe a couple of them or something like that. And then once they have an idea of what they want, they go through the financing, they go through all the numbers. Ultimately, they run credit, they do all that stuff. It's a whole process, right? But ultimately, there's a lot of steps that go into someone getting their first yes. And some people might say, I'm going to think about it, or some people might say no, or they might say this or that. Sorry, I got a little something in my throat all of a sudden in case it comes back. But the main thing is to remember, guys, when it comes to upselling, is the first yes is always the hardest one to get. Something that you guys will learn a little bit later that work on our team is that if you had to imagine like a scale, make sure you guys can see this too. If you have a scale from like point A to point B, which is the demo to getting a yes. Getting from point A to a table knife is harder than after they say yes to the table knife to buying more stuff. Now, just to clarify what that means, a lot of people in their head will say no, 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 no. But once someone decides yes, no, let's go back to the car analogy for a second. When someone finally decides, yes, I will buy that car at that interest rate, at that monthly payment. Hey, Kathy, or someone, could you guys give me a water or something like that? I think it's hitting me right now. Once they decide, yes, I'm going to purchase this car, is that the last thing that gets offered to them at the dealership? So you bought a car. So what was the things that what happened after you decided yes to buy the car? What did they start offering?
Special floor mats.
Floor mats.
Like warranty and stuff like that.
Warranty, classic one. Probably like tinted windows or like maybe some seat upgrades or stuff like that. Thanks so much. The point of the story, guys, is that a lot of the sales businesses around for a long time, they understand the idea that they're going to spend A+ level effort showing them the options, breaking down the price and the financing, all that stuff. But once the customer decides yes, once they buy the car, then it becomes more of a, well, I might as well attitude. It's like, well, we already bought the car. We might as well get the tinted windows too. We already bought this. We might as well get this. By the way, it's the same thing with beds. When my wife bought our bed for our house, like our main bed, I remember her saying on the phone, I wasn't there for it, but she's like, well, if we're going to buy the bed, I really want to get these pillows too. They were like upgraded pillows, right? She's like, well, if we're already going to buy the bed, by the way, she called me like 5 times from the store. She's like, are you sure? Like, I don't know. What about this one? I wasn't even there, right? I don't even know how it felt or anything. I was like, honey, I trust you. Like, we need a bed. I was working and all that stuff. Like, if you think it's good, and then she would, okay, sounds good. And then like 10 minutes later, are you sure? Here's what I'm thinking. But ultimately, after going through that whole process, once she decided yes, on the same phone call, that's when she was like, well, if we're going to go ahead and get the bed, I really want to get the upgraded pillows. Might as well. The same thing with her car. She's like, well, she took fridge. My wife is a real thinker when it comes to buying stuff, right? I'm a very quick decision maker. For her, she has to think about everything. And so she thinks about it. She ends up finding the car that she wants. She decides to buy it. And then all of a sudden she's like, well, I might as well get the tinted windows. Well, I might as well get that. Or I might as well get this, that, and the other. And before we know it, she already did like 3 different upgrades. But you know how long it took her to make that decision? This long. So you have to remember, guys, is that once you get the first yes, the door is wide open for people to buy more. Inside their own head, like mentally, they've said yes. So now they're very open about seeing what else they can add on. You know what the beautiful thing is too? If they're buying a knife set and doing 5 payments, let's say it's the homemaker and it's like $290 a month or whatever. they're buying that. If they want to add on like 2 kitchen gadgets to it and they add it to the payments, you realize that only adds like what, $22 a month. Well, Miss Jones, I know you like that peeler and that can opener if you're going to get it eventually anyways. Since you're already buying the set and doing the payments, if you just add the gadgets to this order, you can just add it to the payments and it only adds $22 to your payments. Do you realize how easy it is for someone to say yes to that? But for you, what did that do? It added 100 CPO. You do that 20 times during a push, that's an extra 2,000 CPO that probably only took you about 5 minutes. Make sense so far? Let's get into some more things here. So here's another one. Number 2 rule is turn up the enthusiasm. You got to make it fun. You can't be so serious when you're selling Cutco, guys. One of the best things I've learned about our job is that Cutco is super easy to sell as a product. Now, are there things you can learn to sell more, like sell more sets and bigger items and stuff like that? Absolutely. But Cutco as a product itself is easy to sell. It's best in class quality, best in the industry, best warranty, not even close. American made, long-standing history of following through, all that kind of stuff. But you have to make sure that whenever you're offering more things, you have to turn up the enthusiasm, make it fun. So here's what I mean by that. Now, by the way, I am not a very extroverted person, right? I'm a very introverted person. I'm not very like outlandish. When I'm working with a customer, I make sure, because I have some big goals I'm trying to hit, that I will turn up my enthusiasm just a couple of notches. I'll smile a little bit more. I'll be a little bit more fun and like jokey and stuff like that. I have a bunch of one-liners that we don't have time for today, but you guys will learn in due time to add to your demos. But it's all about turning up your enthusiasm, make it fun. When you're offering people to buy more stuff, you got to make sure to smile while you do it. I got to check y'all smiles. Can I see a bunch of smiles real quick? Smiles, 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 smiles. All right, perfect. Zoom. That means you guys too. Even though you're not here, I got to see smiles. All right, that works. So when people smile, it's just a lot more receptive to people in general, right? Can you imagine trying to upsell and just having this face the whole time? Miss Jones, you just want to, it doesn't work, right? I don't even need to finish that sentence. So the idea is just make sure to understand it's okay to turn up the enthusiasm. Next rule, know what to offer based on what they're buying. If they're buying a knife set, I'm going to give you guys 5 different things that you get like back. I call them a back pocket special. These are basically specials that you have written in your notes somewhere, like a cheat sheet, where you have like off the cuff, where like, hey, Miss Jones, since you're buying this homemaker set, I know you said that you really like this, this, and this. Tell you what, if you want to add it, I can do it for only this much. We'll get into that in just a second. But you have to know what to offer based on what they're buying. You can't just shoot from the hip the whole time. You got to be prepared. Okay. And then the last rule of upselling here, the basics, is don't forget. It's like recommendations. Who here's forgotten to ask for recommendations before? I have been doing this long enough. I've done it at least once, probably a lot more than that. Sometimes I would just get like, I remember my first big set, like my first ultimate set I sold, I was like sweating bullets and I was just like, what is happening right now? And I just got so overly excited that I remember leaving the appointment and I forgot to ask for recos. And that was just unfortunate, but I learned from that. The main thing to remember with upselling, it's the same thing. Just like once they buy something and you have payment, you can't forget to ask to add on more. Okay. So here's like the easy line to use. So my note says follow the script, but this is literally all it is. So by the way, just so you know, Mrs. Jones, since you're buying this, if you wanted to add this, then I could do this. Now, by the way, the word this is just a blank line. So here's what it'd be if they bought a homemaker. So by the way, Mrs. Jones, just so you know, since you're buying this homemaker set, if you did want to add the kitchen tools, then I could go ahead and give you this for free. And what's great is since you're already doing the payments, it would actually only add $60 a month to your payments, because the kitchen tools are like right around 300. Yeah, so by the way, Mrs. Jones, just so you know, since you're buying this homemaker set, if you wanted to add these kitchen tools, then I could give you this for free. And since you're doing the payments, it would only add this much per month. Guys, if they're buying it in full, don't worry about mentioning the payments. But if they're doing it in payments, which most people will, always focus on the payments. It only adds X amount to the payment. Another good line to ask too, sometimes you can throw this in there if you want, is a tell them like, hey, the great thing is, and I'll do my calculator. I was like, okay, cool. I mean, if you really wanted to, could you guys budget like an extra $60 a month or so? Yeah, we could budget an extra $60. Okay. because that's actually all it would be to add the kitchen tools. And if you want to do that, then I'll actually give you this for free to go with it. They said, yes, I can afford it. They obviously decided they already want it. And then as an incentive to go ahead and get them to do it today versus later, you're going to go and give them a little freebie to go with it. Does this all make sense so far? At least for the most part? All right.
Do you show the gifts and accessories before you close or after?
After. I do all that afterwards. And so so her question was, do you show the gifts and accessories like before or after the closing? So my main thing is I'm super focused on one thing at a time. So if I'm going through my whole demo, I start at my set, I just keep dropping down until they find something they decide they want to buy. Once they say, yes, I'm buying this, I give them a high five, a fist bump, I get all their billing info, I get their payment info, I get all that stuff. I just don't finalize the order. And then what I'll do is, hey, by the way, while I'm wrapping up here, let me show you some of our extra things that a lot of people like to complement the set with. I think that's still in y'all's training manual or something like that, isn't it? So before you finalize the order, you should always be showing them all the gifts, all the accessories, all that kind of stuff. Now, are you an expert at selling every single individual item yet? No, you guys are all new. You guys will learn that stuff over time, but you'll never sell it if you don't show it. Sometimes you get straight up lucky just because you flip to a page or you hit a slide or something and they're like, oh, wait, Cutco makes this? Oh, how much is that? You guys make hunting knives? I didn't know you guys made hunting knives. Like, oh my gosh, Miss Jones, yeah, like our hunting knives, do the demo on the hunting knives. Like, oh my gosh, like actually, how much would 3 hunting knives be? One for my husband, for my 2 kids or whatever. I was like, oh, well, let me check. Well, since you're doing the payments and everything, it actually will only add about $65 a month to your payment. And if you want to go and add that, I can give you like an extra cutting board with it for free if you want to do that. That's like an extra 300 CPO, just like that. Is everyone kind of understanding so far? Yeah.
Just like a technical question, but if you go to like the billing info, right, you get that last paper about this order, and you go back, is it gonna save the billing info?
So good question. So here's what I do is I actually take their payment info and I actually just either write it on a note or I just write it down. So that way they don't have to worry about that getting deleted. So save that. And then whenever everything's officially done, like they've added anything, they're done completely, then I can go in and put it in and then finalize it. Make sense? Cool. So here are 5 specials that are really easy. Like there's a bunch more that you guys will learn later, but just for basics right now. Number 1 special when someone's buying a knife set is a gadget pack. A gadget pack is just a simple buy 3, get 1 free on the gadgets. So they pick 3 gadgets and then they get a 4th one for free. They can mix and match. What is that?
Yeah.
Gadget pack is a buy 3, get 1 free on gadgets. So gadgets, by the way, that can be all the standard stuff, like the rubber handle cheese knife, the can opener, the wine opener, the peeler, the ice cream scoop, the pizza cutter. Those can also include cutting boards and that and individual pieces from like the kitchen tool set and the bake and serve set. I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but the kitchen tools and the bake and serve set, they can buy those pieces individually. So you can use those as like a gadget. Everyone following? So that's an easy one, like Miss Jones. So this is how it would sound. So Miss Jones, just so you know, since you're already buying this galley set, if you wanted to go and add the gadget pack to this, then I could actually do a buy 3, get 1 free. So let me ask you, and this is a good thing to follow up with, is Miss Jones, out of all the gadgets, what are like the 3 or 4 gadgets you would use the most? Oh, I need a good can opener. We always buy crappy ones. Oh my gosh, the ice cream scoop. What does your ice cream scoop do? Do the ice cream scoop demo? All right, cool. We definitely need a peeler. And then I really like that little spatula thing. I was like, okay, cool. So whatever the least expensive is would be the bonus item. You just add it up in your calculator, divide it over 5 because of the 5 payments, and just show them how much it is extra per month. Makes sense? A good thing to use is the calculator close. Have you guys been taught that yet? Calculator close is easy. It's basically anything they're adding, you just add it up in your calculator, divide it, and then you just show them how much it'd be. People are visual, So if I add it up and it's only $45 extra a month, and I would just do that, divide 45, and then I would just show it to them. Yeah, so it'd actually only be 45 extra a month. And you would get all 4 gadgets. Oh yeah, we can do that. Let's go and add those on. And you're like, perfect, that's 200 CPO. Everyone following? Okay. Second special, adding on shears. Guys, you guys should be trying to add on shears to every order. I know they get a lot of that stuff free, but it's not uncommon for people to have a second pair. I sell second pair of shears to my customers literally all the freaking time because they are used all the freaking time. So here's what I would tell you guys is that if they didn't get them for free, that's especially a reason why you need to be offering that. Let's say they chose the entertainer pack for free or, something else, and they didn't get the shears. Every customer needs to have at least one pair of our super shears. An easy thing to do with that. It's like, Mrs. Jones, since you're already buying this Essentials +5 for me, if you want to go ahead and add on the super shears, it would actually only add $25 a month because they're $125. It only add about $25 a month to your order. And if you want to go ahead and do that, I'll go ahead and throw in an additional cutting board for free. Cutting boards are one of the best things to give away for free in our business. Medium and small cutting boards are great. If you have to do a large, you can. But the main thing to remember, and super easy special to do, is no matter what they're buying, if they really love the shears, just tell them to add on the shears. You have $125 in full or 5 payments of $25, and then give the cutting board for free. Even if their salary comes with one, just give them another one. Right, guys, I have like at least 12 cutting boards in a cabinet in my kitchen. Like, you telling me one cutting board for everything? Absolutely not. Make sure they have at least 2 cutting boards. Here's a third special, the kitchen tools. If they didn't get the kitchen tools for free, use a free gadget to close the deal. So Miss Jones, a lot of people actually really like our kitchen tools. I don't know if you guys noticed that yet, but when people see the kitchen tools, they look super nice. You guys ever seen those like big containers on people's countertops where they have like an infinite amount of things that are just stuffed in there? Imagine getting rid of all that and minimizing it down to 6 pieces. That's what that is. And they look super nice too. So here's what I would tell you. They want to add the kitchen tools to it. I like to give a free gadget. You add this on, you get a free can opener. You add this on, you get a free cutting board. You add this on, you get a free pizza cutter, something like that. They do that, guys. That's around probably 220 to 250 CPO added for only $60 a month. More table steak knives. Just because a set comes with 6 steak knives, guys, does not mean that they only need 6 steak knives. And the moment, a lot of people will feel like 6 is enough, but it's just me and my wife at our house, but we have people that come over all the time and 6 is not enough, and it's not even close. So in the moment, they feel like 6 is enough, but what they don't realize is in due time, when people come over for holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas and stuff, or just a barbecue, it gets overwhelming pretty fast. A good line to use for table steak knives before you offer it is, Miss Jones, in a perfect world, considering holidays, Thanksgivings, Christmases, birthdays, barbecues, any of that other occasions you can think of, in a perfect world, how many table or steak knives would you guys probably use at the most? You'd be surprised how many people will say, probably 12. 12 is kind of a standard thing. 8 is too, but 12 is better. So if they're buying a galley set, it comes with 6. So what would be a good idea to do? Well, based on that, I think maybe we should consider getting 6 more. Well, they don't fit in the block. That's okay. A lot of our customers will just keep them in their silverware drawer with their forks and spoons. Those are like the extras. Does this all make sense so far? So an easy special to do on the table steak knives is a buy 3, get 1 free. You can do it for either. So if they want 4 more table steak knives, 4 more table knives, charge them for 3. You can, you guys know you can do them individually, right? It doesn't have to be in the pack. They can buy 3 of them. They can get the 4th one for free. Now, are these things that I'm doing like right off the get-go? No, this is like, these are basically bonus specials they get because they're adding it on to a set they already bought. So they're getting these benefits because they already purchased something bigger. Does that make sense? It's kind of like volume. Like, you know how like in certain places, like they'll give you discounts on other items because you already spent so much. It's the same thing. So that's why we always use that phrasing. By the way, just so you know, since you're buying this, if you wanted to add this, then I could do it for this. Cool. And people like good deals. If you have a good deal for them and they're in the right mindset and they're open to buying more, well, you got to strike the iron while it's hot. Cool. I can't tell you how many times customers have actually told me no to buy more. They got really close, but then they're like, I think we're just going to start with this. We'll get the rest later. And then later comes like 3 years later, and then they're like, okay, Dante, we didn't get those extra steak knives last time, but how much are they? And I tell them, they're like, oh my gosh, see, and they hit their husband. They're like, see, I told you we should have gotten those the last time. And then they either end up getting them or have to work a little bit of a deal with them. But the point is Cutco only gets more expensive. Don't be afraid to offer this stuff to your people. Here's the last special, number 5. Any extra knives. So let's say someone is buying a homemaker, a galley or whatever, or let's say that they're buying a set for themselves, but there's like maybe a couple of the random pieces that they would like to have that don't come in their set. A good thing to do is a buy 2, get 1 free on the kitchen knives. Now, again, this is heavily something you only want to advertise if they're already buying from you, like buying a set or at least 5 pieces or more, right? So when someone say they're buying a 5-piece special from me, the order's locked away, got payment and everything, but they tell me they're like, man, I really want that carving knife, or I really want that boning knife, or I really want those extra shears, or whatever it may be. Well, that's great information to know, because you can tell them, hey, by the way, just so you, what's your name? Drock. Okay. It's like, hey, Drock. So by the way, just so you know, since you're buying this 5-piece special for me, if you did want to add those 3 extra pieces that don't come in the set, then what I could do is actually a buy 2, get 1 free, since you're already buying a set from me. So instead of it actually being this much, it would actually only be this much. And since you're doing the 5 payments, it would actually only be this much per month. Can you guys see how that went down? Let me do that again. Okay. So Drock, by the way, just so you know, since you're buying this 5-piece special from me, if you wanted to add those 3 extra pieces that don't come in the set, then I could actually do a buy 2, get 1 free. So I'm on my calculator now. I add up the cost of all 3 pieces. So instead of it costing this much, I just subtract the cost of the least expensive item. Maybe it's like a paring knife or something. Just subtract the cost of the least expensive. It would actually only be this much. And since you're already doing the 5 payments, it would only add this much to your payments. So you basically showed them 3 prices. The standard, the full amount retail price, call it $300. And there was a buy 2, get 1 free, so call it $200. And since they're doing 5 payments, it only adds how much a month? What's 200 divided by 5? It's only $40 a month to get 3 extra pieces. How many people do you think are going to say yes to that? A lot. Is it all coming full circle now?
Yep.
The objective is, don't forget. Imagine doing this every single order throughout your push week. What if you only had 10 orders during the push and you only averaged an extra 100 CPO? That would be an extra 1,000 CPO in your pocket. 20 orders is 2,000. 40 orders. Again, if you get 40 orders during push, you're probably going to sell a lot more than the 10K. That would still add 4,000 CPO. Make sure to make the most of your opportunity, guys. That's what I got for you guys for now. So I'm going to turn it back over to Kathy here in a second. If there is time for questions, I'll welcome questions unless the timetable needs to keep moving forward. So do questions? Okay, cool. All right. So do we have any questions at all on this stuff, guys?
We know what they like, they kind of like, whenever we go through the demo, we get yeses from them about like, people, you know, what to add or what to offer.
Oh, trying to figure out what to offer. Okay, so good question. So one of 2 things is going to happen. Either they're gonna tell you what are the things that they would like to add that they, you know, maybe they're not getting today, but they want to get quote unquote later or something like that. Or you have no idea what to offer. Like I've had that happen before too, where like I closed an order and I got their payment info and everything, but I have no idea what else they might be interested in, right? Has anyone here run across that before? Yeah. So here's a good question I learned from another CSP over in Arizona. And he said that if I don't know what else they're interested in, this is how I ask. I say, hey, well, thank you so much for your order. I really appreciate it a ton. Like I said, I'm going to be your Cutco guy. Again, everyone calls me Cutco Dante. By the way, you can call yourself Cutco Drock or Cutco whoever. Like that's just a great branding thing to do. Again, my name's Cutco Dante. I'm going to be your Cutco guy. So this won't be the last time that I see you. So what I like to do with all my new customers is I like to keep a wish list on file of anything that you might possibly want down the road too. So let me ask you this. What are like the next like 3 to 5 things that you see that don't come in this set that you might want to get later? And what they'll do is they'll just tell you what it is. And what you're doing is you're just gathering information. They're like, well, we've been talking about getting a good can opener forever. So if that's a really good one, we'd probably want the can opener. I really like those kitchen tools. I really like that meat cleaver. I really like it. And they'll just start telling you stuff. Now that you know what they're interested in, that's when you can immediately turn it into and say, hey, well, by the way, just so you know, since you're already buying this homemaker set from me, if you did want to add the cleaver, for example, and the cleaver is a bigger item, right? Individual item. If you actually did want to add the cleaver and this other knife, what I could actually do for you is a buy 2, get 1 free. So I know you say you like the cleaver, the boning knife, and the extra paring knife. So instead of it being this much, it would actually be this much. And since you're doing payments anyway, so it would only add this much to your payment. If you wanted to go ahead and just add it as a bundle. A good phrasing to use, by the way, is the word bundle. Bundle, bundle, bundle. There's a lot of different ways you can say. You could say package deal, you could say bundles, you could say specials, whatever. The main thing is you're letting people understand, like people understand the concept of a bundle really easily. I am bundling a knife set with other things that I want. So that's why I'm getting a discount on those other things. Everyone following? But good question though. If you know what they're interested in, use that. If you don't know, always ask that. And just tell them, I'm going to be your Cutco person. I like to keep a wish list on file. What are the things that you would be interested in later? And when they tell you, use that information to offer based on the specials they gave you. Cool. If they give you something off the wall, like flatware, which you guys will learn about that later and stuff. If you're like, I have no idea how to sell flatware, I have no idea what deals I can do. That's okay. If they're interested, people will sometimes just buy our flatware because it's Cutco. If they require a little bit of sailing on it, like understand the value of it and stuff, you don't know how to do it yet, feel comfortable calling your manager. Your manager knows how to sell the flatware. They can help you do that for you. I don't know what specials to give. Okay, well, call your manager. Your manager will help you figure out a special on the flatware or the pots and pans or whatever it may be. Make sense? It's kind of like whenever you're new and they're like, well, they really want the signature set, but like instead of like the shears or like the kitchen tools, whatever, they want to see if they can get like a K-bar instead. Can we do that? Yeah, of course. Like the things that are in there, guys, you just use your bonus points. You guys are mature enough in the business now. You guys should know how to use bonus points. Good question though. Any other questions here? Anyone on Zoom? Love Zavi.
Are your objections kind of the same when it comes to that stuff? Objections you've got very different.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so here's the deal I would tell you guys when objections, like no matter how good you are at this job, I get objections too all the time. I still have no sales to this day. Have I learned a lot of stuff in the meantime? Absolutely. But the main objection that you ever get when it comes to upselling is just simply like they think about it and they end up leaning towards like, I would love to do it. That's such a great deal. I really appreciate it. But I think for our budget, we have to stick right here for right now. And here's what I would tell you guys, and this is something I probably should have mentioned in my talk, is that always offer until they tell you we're good. Does that make sense? There's been times where I've had people that have gone through and they've offered something, or like I've offered something and they took it super quick, like too quick, where I was like, wow, that was actually like too easy. Where I was like, hey, if you want to add on this, if you want to get those 3 gadgets, we'll get you free. And they're like, what do you think, honey? Yeah, I'm good with it. Okay, yeah, we'll do that. I was like, oh, okay, that's nice when that happens. And so afterwards I learned like, oh, if I offer something else, they usually take that too. If I offer something else, there's a chance they take that too. There's sometimes people that will take 2, 3, or even 4 offers. And then there's some people that really have to work hard on doing 1 offer. But the cool thing is, guys, is that you're always just offering. It's very low key. That's the main thing about upselling, is that it's very chill, like, again, enthusiastic, like have fun with an environment. If I offer it to people, like, what's your name? Cameron. So if I'm like working with Cameron and like we really worked hard on buying a homemaker set and like we were able to make it work, I gave him like a half trade-in price and like kind of made it work for the budget. He was really appreciative. Then what I would do, and let's say that he gave me no other information of what he's interested in beyond the homemaker set, then I'll take all his information and stuff and like, hey, you know, like I said, I'll be your Cutco guy, Cameron. So I like to keep a wish list on file for anything that you might be interested in the future. What are like some of the other things that you might possibly be maybe interested in down the road? And he's like, well, I really like to hunt. I heard your hunting knives are really good, so I'd want one of those. I also like to fish a lot, so I'd want one of those. I actually really like the kitchen tools, and I have stainless steel cookware, so I know that would be good for it as well. And they just gives me information, right? So he's told me what he's interested in. So when I come right afterwards and just say, hey, well, by the way, just so you know, Cameron, since you're already buying this set from me, if you wanted to go ahead and add these things to it, instead of it being this much, it would only be this much. And since you're doing payments, it'd only be this much per month if you wanted to add it. And if you go ahead and do that, I'll give you this for free. Can you guys see how it's all the same formula? It's the same thing. It's just different items. That's all it is. So the main rule, if you had to really simplify it, is this. Identify what they're interested in. Use those 5 specials as like your back pocket special, something you have on a cheat sheet ready to go. And then when you offer it to them, some people will say yes and some will say no. It's just like doing demos and making phone calls, right? Learning how to work through discomfort. It's like the first time you do it, you might get told no. You're like, oh, that sounds really good, but I think I'm going to save that for next time, but I'll start with this for now. Okay, yeah, no problem, Ms. Jones, totally cool. Wrap up the order, get recommendations, move on to your next one. But the main point is, guys, is you got to make the most of your opportunities whenever they're available to you. Like, here's the thing, guys, like ultimates and signature sets, can you get better at selling those? 100%. You'd be surprised the little things you can do to sell more of those sets, but that's not for right now. The main thing is that I realized, guys, is that maybe not everyone wants to buy an ultimate set, but when the opportunities present themselves, you have to be ready for them. You can't be scared of it. That's the thing. You'll never upsell $1 if you don't offer it. You don't sell what you don't show. You can't sell what you don't offer. Does that make sense? Beautiful thing about us too, guys, is people love Cutco and they really love deals on Cutco. But it's not like they're just going to spur at the moment, be like, oh, if I buy this set, can I get this at a discount? Most people aren't going to think about that. You have to tell them what's available. Comprende?
What do you do if
Yeah. If they do one knife, I'm like, high five. By the way, that's a good question because it's really important that you have the discipline to be super fired up for your customer, whether they're buying everything or they're buying one thing. You never want to make someone feel like belittled because they're buying small.
It's gonna hurt your reps.
It will definitely hurt your recommendations. And me and Kathy and everyone has a million stories of people that bought very little or even was a no sale, but they referred us to really good people that did buy a lot. And you guys may not know this, but behind the scenes, guys, you know what's going to happen when you leave that demo? There's a good chance if you tee them up and they send out the texts and stuff like that, they're going to ask about you and you got to make sure that you had a really good demo with them. Maybe this lady only bought a trimmer on a 2-payment plan, right? But maybe she referred you to her daughter that could buy a signature set or a galley or flatware or something bigger, right? So please definitely make sure you have to have the same enthusiasm level, whether they buy big or buy small, for sure. Now, if they're buying one piece, then it's okay to offer a buy 3, get 1 free. Hey, by the way, since you're buying this one knife from me, that's great. I know we have these other things on your wish list for down the road. Let me ask you this, because I'm in a big sales contest right now, if you did want to add these 3 other pieces, I'll do a buy 2, get 1 free on those. And so instead of it costing this much, it only costs this much. And since you're doing like 2 payments or 3 payments, it would actually only be this much per month. Make sense? Selling 3 or 5 pieces on payments is easier than selling one knife in full. That's what I've learned. I sell more 5-piece specials on payments than it's probably really close to selling 1 pieces and 2 pieces in full. You can buy 2 pieces for 200 in 1 payment, or you can buy 5 pieces for 5 payments of 100. And you get something for free with it. Good questions, guys. Do we have any questions in the Zoom world? Nope, all good.